Now imagine that your boss comes up to you, and you being the data analyst of the company, you've been assigned a task to create a dashboard, and your company's name is Bolt, as in B-O-L-T, and you've been given 20 minutes to create a dashboard where you can show the total sales by total quantity and total value. Now you're learning DAX, so the challenge here is to create a dashboard without using any DAX measures. So let's see how we can create a dashboard without any DAX measures. On the empty canvas, the first thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to put a title. So I'm in the Home tab, and I'll click on text box. We get an empty text box, and we will type our title here. So I'll type Sales Overview by Brand and Category. Let's select the text. Let's increase the size to around 28 points. Let's make it a little bit bold, underline, and let's change the color to a bit of dark gray, and that looks fine. Let's resize our text box. Now we need to use some visuals here, and if you go to the visualization pane, you can see that we get a card visual here. So I'll just click on the card. We have an empty card here. Let's expand our EPOS table, and we get all the field items here. Now you can see that total quantity and total sales, both these columns are numbers, and they are denoted by the sigma sign. So what I can do is I can just drag the total quantity onto the card visual, and it should give us the total quantity. Let me resize this visual. Let's give it a little bit of formatting. I'll click on General and click on Effects, and let's give it a little bit of shadow. Let's turn it on, and that looks fine. For the quantity, let's format our data labels, which is in the callout value. Display units, I'll say no, and you can see that it's a number, so it's a little bit difficult to read. What I'll do is I'll click on the total quantity column, and our column tools gets selected. I'll click on the comma, and that is fine for now. Maybe we can reduce the size a little bit. So from 45, I'll change it to 35. Let's resize it a little bit. Let's make a copy of this. Since the visual is selected, Control C, Control V, and now instead of total quantity, I can remove this, and I can just drag in total sales. And for the total sales, we'd like to show it in millions. So I'll go to the format visuals once again, call out value, and in the display units, I'll click on millions. Let's make 2 more copies of this. And let's remove the total sales, and I'd like to show the unique number of SKUs. So for the item name, which is the SKU name, if I drag it onto the field, you'll see that it's showing the first SKU in the list. I'll click on the drop down over here, and since this is text, I'll check mark count distinct. So that should give us the unique number of SKUs. Now we need to format this. I'll go to the format visual pane, call out value, and I'll click on 1000. Let's change the category label over here. Let's change the color first, and maybe we can make it or give it a dark blue font. Let's make it a little bit bold. I'd like to change the name to SKU count, So let's go back to Format Visual, double click on the name here, and I'll type SKU count. Now for the last one, let's try and find the average sales. So I can just click on the drop down here and click on average. Let's change the number formatting. Average of total sales. Once again, we need to change the name here. Now I like this format, so I'll click on this and I'd like to apply the same format on the other three. So in the Home tab, I'll click on Format Painter, apply the formatting here, click on Format Painter, apply the formatting here, and the same for this as well. Now you can see as I apply the formatting, the number formatting changes. So let's change it back to millions. SKU count. Total sales. And this is average sales. And we don't need any decimals. So I'll click on 0, click outside, and that should be good enough. So we have total quantity, total sales, the number of SKUs, and our average sales. In fact, let me change the title of this. Now let's bring in two slicers so we can slice by year and by brand. So I'll click on the slicer icon here and I'll drag the year, and let's click on the drop down here, change it to a drop down. Let's also give it an outside shading border. Clicking on General, let's go to Effects and turn on Shadow. Let's make a copy of this, and instead of here, let's drag in brand name. So we have a brand name slicer and we have the year slicer. Now I'd also like to see the total sales by each category. So what I'll do is I'll click on the Insert tab, and in the Insert tab we have the AI Visuals, which is Artificial Intelligence, and I'll click on the Q&A section. Now the Q&A section is very intuitive. You can just type in a question and you should be able to get some results. So I'll type in total sales by category and try to make sure that whenever you're using the name should be in line with your field name. So you can see it has given us a default visual. So there is a small icon here that says turn the Q&A result into a standard visual. So I'll click on this and it changes into a visual. So let's do a little bit of formatting on this. You can see that we have the total sales by category. Let's get rid of the X-axis title and the Y-axis title. Let's bring in the data labels, and also let's bring our title into the center. So with the visual selected, clicking on Y-axis, and we have the size, which is 9. Let's make it 10. Let's click on the title, and we don't need the title over here, so I'll click it and make it off. Let's do the same for the X-axis. Check mark it off. Let's bring in the data labels. Let's turn it on, and let's make it a little bit bold by clicking on values. Let's make it a size of 10 and click on bold. Now that should be good enough. What left is to bring the title in the center. click on the title, which is check marked as on, and for the alignment, let's click on center. And also let's give it a shaded border just like the rest of the visual. Clicking on effects, and for the shadow, I'll click and check mark it on. Now we also need to show the total sales by, or the total quantity by category. So let's go back into the Q&A section and let's type total quantity, and you can see QTY because we have QTY here by category. Let's apply the same formatting, clicking on the same visual, go to the Home tab, click on Format Painter and apply the same format. Now for the quantity, we should have it in thousands, so let's go and format our label. Now we have a little bit of space that's left over here. So what we can do is, let's bring in another chart. So I'll just click on any one of them. Let's choose a clustered column chart. And what we would like to show is, let's try and show the category sales by month. So you can see that once the visual is selected, we get a feature which is small multiples. So for the small multiples, I'd like to show it by category. So I'll drag the category into the small multiples section. And for the y-axis, I can drag the total sales. And for the x-axis, we need to show it by month. So let's drag the month onto the x-axis. Let's resize this. Maybe we can reduce the size a little bit more. Let's decrease the size. And that should be good enough. Now you can see that the month is showing as April, August, December, which means that they are not in the correct form. So what we can do is, let's head on to our data view, and we have year and month. And what we need to do is, we need to get 3 characters so that from the left, so that we get the short form of the month. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll click on new column and I'll name this short month is equal to, we can use the same left function as in Excel, and it has 2 arguments. The text is the month over here. So as I type in month, you can see that we have EPOS month, which is this column. Let's click on this, and from the left side, how many characters do we need? I need 3 characters. Let's close the bracket, press enter, and we have the short form. Now we also need to sort them, because if I just bring this over here and if I bring the short month, you will see that it's not in order. So we need to do a little bit of formatting or a little bit of a hack over here so that we can sort the month in the correct form. So for that, we need to add a column and get the month number. So let's go to the Power Query editor by clicking on Transform Data. And we are inside the Power Query editor now. What I need to do is, I need to add a column over here, and it's going to be a conditional column. So I'll click on this, and for the new column name, I'll say month sort order. So if the column name, which is the month, if it's equal to January, then I want a 1, and I need to do this for all of the months. So I'll add 11 of them. Let's do each of them. So this is February, and I'll repeat the same for all of the months. This is June, so this should be 6. For July, this should be 7. August, it should be 8. September should be 9. And just a few more to go. Should be 10. November should be 11. And the last one should be 12, being December. I'll click on OK. Now we have the month sort order. Let's change this to a number. Let's click on this and turn it to a whole number. And let's click on the month name here. And once I select the month name, you'll see that this is still in text format. What we can also do is, since we have the month number, let's build our date by month, by year, and by day. Now the granularity in this table is only by year and month. So let's try and see how we can do that. So let's go back into Power BI, close and apply. Once it gets loaded, let's go into data view. We have our month sort order here. I'll click on short month, and in the columns tool you will see that we have sort column. Let's click on this, and I'd like to sort this by the month sort order. So I'll click on this, click back in the report view, and now you can see that we have our months in the correct form. Let me remove this. Let's bring our visual back, and let's change this from month to the short month. And we have Jan, Feb, March, April, and so on. So we are still short of some space, so I'll try to reduce a little bit more. Total quantity by category. Let's also bring the title in the middle over here. Let's also add our data labels. And let's go ahead and build our date, which I was talking about. So I'll click on new column, and I'll type date is equal to, let's use the date function here. It has 3 arguments, the year, the month, and the day. So I can use this column, which is the year. So I'll just type year, select this for the month. We already have the month. And for the day, since we don't have the granularity by day, so the day I'll use 1, which is the starting point. Let's close the bracket and see what the result that we get. We get an error right now. So let's see where the mistake is. January needs to be text, which is correct. Instead of that, what we need to do is we need to take the month sort order, because this month that we have applied is this part. So we cannot use text over here. Let's delete this, month sort order, and this should be good to go now. So you can see we get the date format. Let's get rid of the time. I'll go to format, and let's choose one of the formats here. And now we're good to go. Let's click back in the report view, and our dashboard is almost ready. Now if I click on any one of the visuals, let's slice it by year, the year 2020, you see that all our values update automatically. Let's choose any one of the company. In this case, we're working for the company Bolt. So let's analyze our sales. In the year 2020, 54 SKUs, total sales was 5.19 million. And you can see by category, the biggest category is the hand blender with sales of 2.3 million. If you see on the right hand side, we have the sales by month. You can clearly see that the blender category, we sold the highest in the month of Jan. If I click down or scroll down, you can see hand blenders, Jan, Feb, March and April was the highest sales. Now you can see that there are very small numbers here, which means that we are very poor in the hand mixer category. If I come down, you will see that we're strong in iron steam and juice extractors. I can also click on the month of January and drill down into the month of January, and it will show you the contribution for the blenders to the total category. This is for the quantity and this is for the sales. So you can see that our report is ready and we're ready to slice and dice by the year, by the brand name, by the month.